Cybersecurity training is a waste of time if you're not doing this one simple thing to actually protect yourself. Traditional cybersecurity training often focuses on teaching you what to avoid, but it rarely gives you the practical skills you need to stay safe online. You might learn about the latest threats and vulnerabilities, but you're left wondering how to apply that knowledge in the real world. That's why I want to challenge the traditional approach to cybersecurity training and show you how to actually protect yourself online. Most cybersecurity training programs are like crash courses on theoretical threat analysis. They cover the basics of security threats, but they rarely provide actionable advice on how to prevent those threats from happening in the first place. They might teach you how to identify phishing emails, but they won't show you how to set up two-factor authentication or use a password manager. They're like teaching you how to spot a tornado, but not how to build a storm shelter. And that's not even the worst part. The real problem is that cybersecurity training often assumes you're the weakest link in the security chain, and that's just not true. The truth is, most security breaches are caused by the system, not the user. It's like blaming the passenger for a car crash when the real problem is the faulty brakes. Cybersecurity training needs to focus on empowering users, not blaming them. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the key strategies and tools you can use to take control of your online security, and we're going to start by looking at where traditional training goes wrong. One of the biggest mistakes traditional cybersecurity training makes is assuming that users will follow best practices. But let's be real, we're human, and we make mistakes. We forget passwords, we click on suspicious links, and we use public Wi-Fi. And that's okay. What's not okay is that traditional training doesn't account for these mistakes. It doesn't teach you how to recover from a security breach or how to set up systems that prevent mistakes from happening in the first place. It's like teaching you how to drive a car without showing you how to use the brakes. Another problem with traditional cybersecurity training is that it's often out of touch with real-world scenarios. It might teach you how to spot a phishing email, but what about when you're on a public computer and you need to access your email? What about when you're working remotely and you need to access sensitive files? Traditional training doesn't account for these scenarios, and that's why it's often so ineffective. So what's the solution? How can you actually protect yourself online? The first step is to take personal responsibility for your cybersecurity. This means acknowledging that you're not just a passive victim of security threats, you're an active participant in your own online safety. It means recognizing that you have the power to set up systems and tools that prevent security breaches from happening in the first place. The second step is to focus on prevention rather than reaction. Instead of waiting for a security breach to happen and then trying to fix it, you need to set up systems that prevent breaches from happening in the first place. This might mean using a password manager, setting up two-factor authentication, and encrypting your data. It might mean using a VPN when you're on public Wi-Fi and keeping your software up to date. These are the kinds of practical steps that traditional cybersecurity training often ignores. The third step is to stay informed, but not alarmed. You need to stay up to date with the latest security threats, but you don't need to be paranoid about them. You need to focus on the real threats, rather than the theoretical ones. And you need to take action, rather than just being aware of the threats. The fourth step is to take control of your online presence. This means being mindful of what you share online, setting up strong passwords, and using privacy-focused tools. It means being aware of your digital footprint and taking steps to reduce it. In summary, traditional cybersecurity training often focuses on the wrong things. It focuses on theoretical threat analysis rather than practical prevention. It blames users rather than empowering them. And it ignores the real-world scenarios that we face every day. That's why it's so important to take personal responsibility for your cybersecurity. You need to focus on prevention rather than reaction, stay informed but not alarmed, and take control of your online presence. So what can you do today to start taking control of your online security? Start by setting up a password manager and using two-factor authentication. Start by encrypting your data and using a VPN when you're on public Wi-Fi. Start by being mindful of what you share online and taking steps to reduce your digital footprint. These are the kinds of practical steps that will actually make a difference in your online security. Cybersecurity is a constantly evolving field, and that's why it's so important to stay adaptable and keep learning. New threats are emerging all the time, and new tools and strategies are being developed to combat them. That's why it's so important to stay informed and stay vigilant. Don't wait until it's too late, take control of your online security today. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear about your experiences with cybersecurity training in the comments. Have you ever felt like traditional training was ineffective? What practical steps have you taken to protect yourself online? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check out our next video for more tips on staying safe online.